So two monks are traveling along a road, and they're out pretty far, just walking along, and a young monk and a much older monk. And as they're walking along, both of them have taken a vow of silence. And so they're not talking to each other. They're just going about their thoughts and prayers as they walk along. And so they finally come to a river, and the river's fairly wide, not extremely deep, but it's wide. And there's a very young, beautiful woman standing by the river, and she's extremely beautiful. And the two monks come up to where she is, and she looks at the two of them, and she goes, "Oh, please," she says, I'm standing here. I've been so afraid. I need to cross over to the other side." And she said, I'm afraid to go into the water." And she said, "I can't swim, and is there any way you could help me?" And the old monk goes up to her, and he says, "I'll help you." And he says, "Climb on my back." And she does. She climbs on his back, and the young monk is shocked. He can't believe it, because the old monk, had, just like him, had taken a vow of silence, and they both had vowed never to touch woman. And here this old monk has put this woman on his back, and he's spoken to her also. And so the two of them go across the river. They're wading through the water, and the woman's clothes become very wet, and they're clinging to her, and she's quite shapely and beautiful, and her arms and legs are clasped around the monk's back. And so finally they get to the other side, and the old monk lets her off his back, and she stands up, and she says, thank you so much." And he nods, and he says, "You're welcome." And so the two monks start walking, and they're going along on their voyage. And so but the young monk he's seething. He cannot believe this old monk, who has been a monk much longer than he has, and he cannot believe this monk has done this. And the whole time they're walking, the monk is shaking his head, and he's furious. And finally he can't stand it any longer, and he turns and looks at the old monk, and he says to him, "Tell me, Father," he says, "how did it feel," he says, "to break your vow of silence after all these years?" And he says, and tell me, Father, how did it feel to have that young woman on your back, a woman that you vowed never to touch and have close to you like that?" And he says, "How did it feel to have her on your back, her body clinging to you, her large, firm breasts pressed against your back, her supple thighs around your waist?" And the old monk looks at him, and he says, "Maybe you should tell me." He says, "I put her down on the other side of that river, but you, my friend, are still carrying her."